Hi everybody. This is the first update video to the, can't remember what the title of the other one is, 10 Years Abandoned video. So this is the first video follow-up we're doing to show some of the progress we've made. If you look at the yard, actually the yard, it looks worse I think than in the first video, because everything, all of the trees that we've chopped down, all the underbrush we've cut through, not all of, but quite a bit of the garbage we've taken out of the buildings and such is waiting here to get loaded on trucks or burned. So it's a bit more cluttered in the yard. This is going to look much wider open when it's finally all fully clean. One of the surprises we had was doing a little bit of digging around the front here by the road, brought out a big pile of fire brick and insulating fire brick, and quite a few saggers that are in really good condition, actually not broken. There were very few that were actually broken. So we have these all stacked here. There's another pile of brick towards the back of the property as well, and I'm thinking maybe we could cobble together a little experiment kiln, like a little experimental wood kiln would be kind of fun to play around with. Anyway, so garbage, 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 garbage. The light fixtures from the previous video are now here because I replaced the lights. We can see those in a minute. One of the biggest things now that is cause for rejoice is we have water. We mucked out one of the wells to the degree what is it called? The strainer on the bottom of the well pipe is now free of silt and gunk, and then I replaced the pump. Ugh. I replaced the old pump with the new pump, and it's working beautifully. So we have water, although it's not potable water. We'll probably get some filters set up so we will have drinkable water here. And as we come in, you see this hasn't changed much from the beginning of the first video because we still do not have a place to put this wood, but this is our next big project, is to get this cleared out of here and stored somewhere where it's clear of any sort of moisture and also any sort of susceptibility to termites. And once we get some other things moved, we'll have a place for this to go, and it will move out of here, and this will probably, I envision this being a lot of big ceramic jars and plastic buckets and such for processing clay and glazes, levigating clay and levigating ash, processing ash, and it'll all be undercover. It'll be very nice. I think in the first video we came in from here, I introduced the lathe. The lathe is now clear of debris for the most part. And we've been able to confirm with the electricity on now that it works, it runs. It's a brand of lathe that I've tried to find information for. It's called Tsuda製作所. They went out of business in 1980, and that's about all I've been able to find about them. And this is one of their older lathes, so I don't know when they went into business, but this lathe is number 356 of this line of lathes, so it's quite early on in their production, I imagine. But it runs, so one of the things that I'm going to be working on is getting this back up into full smooth running condition, and learning how to machine metal, which is, I'm looking forward to this. Before, when you saw the video, there was probably all this debris and garbage and everything. This is the kiln I was talking about in the first video. This is a big electric kiln, a massive electric kiln that is not functional. This is also quite old. I don't think this ever got very much use, because when we got in, I got the door open and looked in there. It's just pristine condition. And I'm waiting for a scrap company to come and take all the metal framing apart so they can scrap the frame, and then I can salvage all the brick to use as insulation, as an insulating outer coat for another kiln probably. But this thing is so heavy like 2 or 3 of us lined up and tried to just lift up one side, and we couldn't do it. So, and this is a kiln company that still exists and still makes kilns in Arita. So, in fact, I know the guy who owns the company. He's a friend of my pottery teacher. So, and they make wonderful kilns. This is definitely one of his older ones. It has no computer controls or anything on it. It's all just these switches. So, and the other important thing to note about it is I had considered getting it working again to be a working electric kiln, but a kiln of this size would require so much power that the way that power contracts work here, it would cost so much per month just to have it, even if I wasn't firing it, that it's not practical. As it is, this kiln is an enamel kiln, so it only really goes up to about 900 degrees Celsius because it's made for baking on overglazed enamel paint brushwork. So it's not really a kiln that you would use for firing, like glaze firing pots. So anyway, yeah, once this is out of the picture, there's going to be a lot of big open space here. Here's the largest slab that emerged from inside this building. It was being used as a tabletop. And yeah, here. And what do you have for us today, Martha? Yeah. Or no, not Martha. Vanna White, for anybody who knows that reference. A new slab.
There. That's how far back I need to get.
Yeah, to get the whole thing in the frame. So I measured it. It's 288 centimeters tall. There's a slab joke in there somewhere, but I'm going to resist. Okay. Moving on. So everything you see here is what we decided to keep after we sorted through everything. And so it's all divided up into rough categories. And here are pottery related tools. And on top of that, some miscellaneous other tools. Here's a whole thing of pottery tools. That's not a pottery tool. That's gotten mixed in as we've been searching for things. But there were a lot of just miscellaneous shop tools. A huge box under here full of just sandpaper and sanding belts, which is like treasure. I love that. A lot of old sort of antique tools and woodworking tools and just miscellaneous tools that are all quite usable still. I'm not even finished going through it all, and these are all the files that I've come through, all these nice condition files, including these files that are for sharpening your woodworking saws. And here's a big 200 volt compressor, which I haven't checked to see if this one works. I've been taking the previous owner's word for it to this point, but I need to plug it in at some point and see if it works. Anyway, in the middle of the workday, when I'm ready for a break, I turn the lights off and I sit back in the chair for 30 minutes to an hour and have a nice rest. And it's quite comfortable. Because if you open the windows back here, all of this is this just shaded forest. And the breeze that blows in from here is very just nice and cool. Oh yeah, feel that. Wow, it's just cool blowing in here. You got the sound of the river and the sound of the water flowing back behind the studio here. You can't really see, but there's a really tiny river flowing back through here. Yeah. Very nice, very relaxing.
Too bad the camera can't quite capture it.
I didn't realize it, but there's that big tree right there. That's a ginkgo tree. That's going to look really pretty in the fall. Really bright yellow. Yeah.
Also, have you noticed the arrow yet?
Yeah, I have noticed the arrow.
Like,
I've left it alone and to this point because it might be like some sort of charm that's keeping the evil spirits at bay. So I'm leaving it for now until.
I don't know. I don't think the radioactive mice care. Oh wait, no, that doesn't work continuity wise. We're probably publishing this one first.
Got to think of a better story for that backstory. Anyway, so here's something that was interesting. So I think in the previous video, I'd shown you this big pile of boxes back behind the kiln, and I went through and sorted through all those. I thought they were like fired pots. They weren't fired pots. These are all what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 containers of, in Japanese, kiji from a kijiya, which is basically, it's all bisqueware from a bisque making factory that in Arita that does a lot of mass-produced underglaze and overglaze porcelain. Oftentimes the studios don't even make their own pots. They'll buy pre-made bisqued pots from a kijiya, from a bisque dealer, and then they'll use those to paint their own designs and glaze the way they want. There was 9 containerfuls, actually more, because I threw some away that I didn't feel would be useful, but there's 9 containers full of bisqueware that I'm not going to obviously use for selling, but I might glaze and fire some of these just for just like regular group party use or something like that. Something that's okay to be broken at some point. But you know, you've got stacks of saucers for coffee cups, and the coffee cups that fit on them. And they're all quite dirty, but a little bit of sponging off, they'll be good to go. If you get farther down in the stack, they're still dirty. And here's some unomi, regular sort of standard porcelain unomi. Even some larger things, like if there were a few large jars, there's another jar, like some large platters, and they're quite light, you know, this is very light. This, you know, at one point for someone it would have been a nice dish, and it's got a signature, which is odd, but I don't know. Do the
Kijiyas usually sign their pots?
No, they don't. So this may be like leftover. Also, it's possible this could, like the previous owner may have known somebody at a kiln, and the kiln decided to go out of business, or for whatever reason they had a bunch of bisqueware that was left over, and so they gave it to him. I don't know. But I even found these 2 stacks of dishes, nicely sized dishes, that are actually glazed already. He sprayed them with a compressor with a black glaze, because I've seen fired versions of these laying around when we were doing the cleanup. So a very sort of practical black glaze, functional black glaze. So these are all pre-glazed and ready to fire. You could just toss them in the kiln and fire them. But I'm trying hard not to touch them so I don't brush the glaze off in spots. Anyway, yeah, so here, like stacks of dishes. Here are stacks of cups, here are stacks of smaller dishes. What else? Oh, and I actually found several mouse nests going through all of these, between all the dishes, like a bunch of shredded newspaper. And let's see what's at the bottom here. Oh, don't do that. And then also this is more stuff, and you notice some of that in the bottom left corner. That's not porcelain, that's stoneware. And there was a combination of porcelain and stoneware bisque. And for some of this, I think a lot of, like this, for the basic porcelain, I can use, for glazes that I'm developing for my porcelain, I can use these as test pieces without having to make a bunch of test pieces, which I'm kind of thinking would be really convenient. And So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quite large platters. I mean, those are big platters. This is a scalloped platter. The rest of them are sort of flat platters, but this is what they look like. I mean, well made, probably slip cast or paddled over a form. Anyway, down below is more of the stoneware, not porcelain, but anyway, you get the idea.
Is the stoneware also from Akijia?
Yep. Yeah, the stone, it's all from Akijia because it's all exactly the same. It's like a human didn't form it with their hands. It was made with tools, like mass production tools. So anyway, these won't be here later, but this is where, in the final studio configuration, I know for sure I'm going to have 2 or 3 wheels lined up here so the people working can look out over the into the mountain back here while they're working, and have a nice breeze blowing on through as they're working on the wheel. It would be very calming and very nice. After all, in the studio there were 4 wheels. These 2 wheels down here, which they run on 100 volt, and then 2 wheels over here, which are older wheels. They run on 200 volt 3-phase power, so they will run in the studio because we have 3-phase in here. But I haven't quite decided what to do with them yet. I'll probably put them out with the other wheels so people can use them if they want to just try an antique wheel. Because this one wheel, come film this one wheel because it's quite a really interesting configuration. It looks kind of weird, but oh god, it's heavy. Heavy! So you don't sit in a separate chair. It's like the wheel has its own little seat that has an adjustable height, and it does have a little pedal over here, but also it has this little lever here, which when I was testing the power, and I know it works because I tested the power, this lever is also a speed control. The pedal over here is a speed control, and also this lever is a speed control, so I don't know if they're meant to be like independent of each other or if one of them adjusts torque more, but I'll have to play with it a little more if I'm going to figure that out. But anyway, so you would just sit here and make pots, and this is what some of these really old wheels in Japan look like. And I've never used one. There are 2 big old paddled jars. I'm not sure how old, but these are coil and paddle jars, and yeah, they were filled with sort of remnants of glaze, like dried out glaze. And I found several dead mice in one of them. But I'm not sure if they were radioactive or not. Anyway, these will be here until I decide what to do with them. Several buckets of glazes here. Well, these black buckets are just what I bought from the DIY store, because when I start building shelving, I'm going to build shelving that's about this deep, so I'll be able to stack 2 at a time and stick them in the shelf and have tools organized for use. What else? Any of the wood here stacked. This is not wood from this place. This is wood that I've bought or brought from the other studio for the purpose of building tables and shelves along the wall. The gas kiln's been cleaned up. The gas kiln's been cleaned up in the sense that
Whoops.
Never mind the bottles. The gas kiln I've cleaned up, I vacuumed it and wiped it and cleaned it up a bit. It still needs a replacement gasket in the door and all that, so it's not ready to use yet, but it will be at some point in the near future. This area is all cleared out. I think in the previous video, this was just stacks and stacks of junk. Pottery tools, pottery chemicals, which actually turned out to be problematic because there were boxes and boxes of old pottery chemicals like colorants, overglaze enamels containing lead, or cadmium and things like that, that they were so old and had been open, the mice had gotten into them and chewed the bags open, and they were all mixed around in boxes together. And so I just decided to collectively, glove up and mask up and sort them all into 2 boxes. And I'm taking them to a place in Arita that, although it'll cost some money, they'll be able to dispose of them safely. Because I don't want any of that stuff in my studio.
Is it fair to assume that those mice probably didn't live too long?
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe they just lived with tremors and seizures and, I don't know. Anyway, there goes one of the hex angels. Anyway, these are the 2 boxes containing the offending chemicals down here. Some of them were sold, like they had labels that were still there, but the print had faded, so you couldn't even read what was in them. That's just, I don't want that around. So the box on top, although it says adult diapers, it's not really adult diapers. I'm not that old yet. That's the second pump for the second well that came in the mail, but I haven't hooked it up yet because the pump truck is coming tomorrow. It's going to clean out these wells and get all the debris out of them so that I can hook everything up and clean everything up. And then we'll be one step closer to having drinkable water here.